So I had this fantastic advisor who once a year or twice a year would teach a seminar class with a bunch of grad students, usually that were his advisees. And he would sit down, he was very honest. He'd say, you guys are wondering why I want to teach this class? It's because I want to learn about this subject. This is a hot subject and we're going to learn about it together. So he could still have learning objectives. They were just, students were in charge of them. So something that we haven't talked about, and I wish we had had more time, but is student teaching. And what a powerful formative exercise that can be. And I think that you're kind of doing that to some degree, but I think that you can even, it can, in smaller groups, sort of at the other end. So Jordan is a really good example of when, you know, before you go to that business world that's loosely structured, there's things that you have to also know, right? And so Jordan's example is a very sort of concrete, you know, these are basic concepts that you have to understand before you can start to maybe get more playful with them. And you're at the other end of the educational experience in grad school students who are about to go off to the real world and face a bunch of uncertainty. So I think that those sort of bookend formative feedback and assessment really well. Thanks. All right, so I want to just cap it all now. So we've talked about, in this session, we've talked about 3 broad types. We've talked about self-assessment with immediate feedback, the Blackboard quizzes example that Jordan talked about, and Jim shared with us learning logs, which help provide a teachable moment through reflection. So it's that self-reflective part. Are any of you teaching Call 300 classes? That actually includes a sort of a requirement for reflective self-reflection. And then we also had formative peer feedback. So that's the bridging that teachable moment, that gap, through both providing and receiving peer assessment. So the last thing that we want to do quickly is what sort of e-learning tools are there to sort of pull off these 3 models that we have. And these are tools that, you know, you could actually use a lot of these tools in different areas depending on what your goals are. So for the first group, the self-assessment with immediate feedback, I think that Blackboard quizzes are, I know that Blackboard is never sexy, but it can actually be a really good tool to get, it's a lightweight tool. Students are using Blackboard anyways. It's, Jordan, pretty quick to put up a Blackboard quiz. And there are a lot of options. We have Poll Everywhere. There's some new methods that we're looking at with branching technologies, which sort of simulate different environments and aren't linear. And there's gamification, which is another one. And I think that has been sort of a hot topic. We haven't applied it much here in William & Mary, but I went to see a brilliant talk 2 years ago from one of the main software developers, a company called Bethesda, that provides all sorts of high-end games. And the founder of it came to talk. He's a William & Mary alum, and he talked about how the gaming, you know, all of gaming incorporates a learning feature. You know, when you're learning most games, when you're learning to play most games, there's a loop, and it's very formative actually. For learning logs, you could use things like WordPress, Google Docs. Have you guys heard of VoiceThread? VoiceThread is it's sort of a much more media-rich version of discussion threads. So you actually can record both video and audio presentations, questions, along with peer responses, faculty responses. In the sciences, I've been working with biology on digital lab notebooks. Lab notebooks, if you've ever taken a science class, is one of the key components of actually the scientific process. It's how you record your data, how you think about your data. We've traditionally done those on paper, and some folks have started to move into the digital realm with those. For formative peer feedback, we talked about Piazza in computer sciences, using that fairly heavily. Hypothesis, which is a way of annotating websites. Any website, you could have students annotate a latest story on CNN today. And they can, and it's sort of in a hidden layer that you can share between your students. Really cool application. VideoAnt, which allows you to annotate videos. VoiceThread, again, I think is one of these tools that you can sort of mix and match, as well as Google Docs and WordPress with comments. I I don't know, do you have any questions or additional things that you would add to that list that you've used that would fit into what we've been discussing? Yes?
Maybe elaborating on the gamification sort of thing. I'm actually running a simulation in one of my classes. It's been around for a long time, where you put the students into teams and they're running a business and they're competing with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the feedback, because it's gotten the game has gotten so much better, it's instantaneous and it's never the same, because whether what you did worked depends on what the other guys you're competing with did.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really fast learning that comes out of that.
I'm really interested in that area. A few years ago, some folks from VIMS and the Keck lab here on campus ran a simulation that has to do with the health of the Chesapeake Bay. And it was really brilliant. It was, different campuses in Virginia were simulating different county governments. And depending on whether, how you zoned or how you allowed people to fertilize their agricultural fields or whatever, what impact it would have. And they would get immediate feedback, really month-to-month sort of calendar feedback, and they ran a simulation that was really amazing to see.
Some guys from Deloitte made an argument in a recent book that most of us in the business school didn't like too much, and it was that World of Warcraft may be better preparation for running a business than an MBA degree.
Maybe.
You know what I'm doing after this.
Yes. Anyone else? No? All right, well, as always, we're going to share this PDF. If you didn't sign in, please sign in so we can send you the materials. If you're not aware of the Apple's offering an e-learning certificate for participating in these workshops, if you guys have a quick minute, between this semester and next semester, we're offering 8 different sessions on 4 different tracks. If you participate in one track each, at the end of the year, we will have an end-of-year symposium where faculty members will have a chance to present, and then you're eligible for the e-learning certificate. And we're working on getting departmental chairs to take those into account in interesting ways, hopefully. Thank you for coming.